And here we are. Ha ha ha. Here we are. It is the 600th episode of the Spoiler Room.
Bravo.
Woo!
It's
Can you
it's
believe
awesome.
it, folks?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
You're that
I
good.
am.
You got good content, and you put it on a great show for a long time. No doubt in my mind.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Absolutely.
Yes.
appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just checking the monitor here because I'm doing this myself. So you have to excuse me one moment.
You betcha.
All right. Well, thank you, Don. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate you folks tuning in and everybody tuning into our live stream. And we're going to have other members drop in and out throughout the evening as we close out our streamathon here on Special Mark Productions honoring 20 years by trying to raise some money for the Alzheimer's Association. So before we get started, I'll just remind folks, if you're watching this on the specialmarkproductions.com/stream, there's a button right there that says donate. There's also a QR code, and on the stream, you can see the QR code up there. And in the description, there is a link you can click to help donate to Alzheimer's Association because they rock and they do a lot of work, and it's to help a good cause. And I figured I'd make this 20th anniversary something special, and I wanted to make the 600th episode something special. And it is special to me that these fine folks have come here tonight to talk about the topic that we had on episode 0 13 years ago. So 20th anniversary of the Spoiler Room of the Final Cut and Special Mark Productions, and this is our 13th season of the Spoiler Room, 600th episode. Lots of milestones going on, and I got wonderful folks right now in town here in the stream for us. First off, he is with us once again, the one and only, inevitably classy Mr. Jeff York. How you doing, Jeff?
Well, thank you. Very nice to be here. Thank you so much for
glad
that.
to have you here. And
yeah.
Also with us, you'll recognize him from his YouTube channel, the horror miser Monty G himself. Lamont is with us. Thank you, Lamont. I know it's a little late where you're at. I appreciate you popping into our 600th episode to talk remakes and reboots for as long as you can.
Yeah. Yes. I'll try to see how long I can stay before I had to go to sleep. But I'm here for you, Mark.
Well, it means a lot to me, at least about me. And also a man who brings the higher education to the Spoiler Room. He is none other than the man himself, Don Shanahan. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, and congratulations on the milestone. It's great to be here.
Oh, glad to have you. And so reboots and remakes was our topic 13 years ago. And we all had some very not kind words about them. I think in general, we look upon them not just as cinephiles, but as film fans. We look at reboots and remakes as things that are not necessary. And if anything like the box office of Moana shows, we're not completely wrong. But Disney, who was it? Don, I believe you say too big to fail.
Disney is too big to fail. They're going to keep doing these reimaginings. It sounds like Tangled is next. They show no quarter. They have no scruples. If it can make money and squeeze money, they will try. They are too big to fail because even Moana and its bombings are still not at a level that make a dent in all the things that they do. Yeah. They're too big to fail.
And no, it doesn't matter how much the rage haters and the grifters and the chuds try to celebrate this what Moana is doing. Disney doesn't care about that. They're still going to get the merchandising. They're going to get the VOD sales, and they're still going to do their live action streams because, unfortunately, as bad as what people didn't like about Lilo and Stitch, it still made over $1 billion. So that's the problem. That's what this is. People still want to go see it. So Tangled is next. Let's not forget about Frozen because that's going to be coming down the pipeline. The Disney machine will always continue.
And the tragedy of that, I think, Monty, is that Disney has so much money and inevitability as profitable, ventures, whether it's owning ABC and the parks and various toys and sort of the tchotchkes that pay for so many bills. They should be risking more. They once did. I mean, I even go back to when I was just in college and they realized that they weren't doing the animated films as well as they used to, and so they started to try to do something edgier with their live action film productions, and they created Touchstone, and then they produced Down and Out in Beverly Hills and Ruthless People, and some very fun R-rated comedies, and sort of, hey, we kind of get this. We know that we're sort of yesterday's cold mashed potatoes, and we can be modern and bring back Bette Midler, et cetera, et cetera. And then they bought Pixar, and sort of got the gleam from that new animation company and took it as their own. But to see them continually going back to, well, we haven't done this animated movie yet, or we haven't done the live action version of this, and even like the Descendants on the Disney Channel, I think is just, how many times can you do this borrowed interest stuff when these people have enough intelligence and talent and money to say, we want to do, why don't they do a contest and say, we want to do 3 new movies with original IPs or whatever each year, and we're looking for people who want to tell a good story out there, and join the contest. They could do that, and young people, screenwriters in Hollywood, et cetera, whomever. But instead, they keep doing this, and then they scratch their heads and go, well, I guess that's bad. And well, we've been having a tough summer. We also shut down the Carousel of Progress after 70 years or whatever it's been. But I don't know if they really get the fact that they were once had people they called Imagineers, and I'm not sure they're living up to that reputation anymore.
Yeah,
I think your key word is progress. Like, where is progress being made beyond the merchandising possibilities, and where is progress being made in what filmmaking can do? And don't get me wrong, I get that there's tools in the toolbox now, different tools in the toolbox from traditional animation to reboot and remake anything you want, to have a blank palette, to have all the green screens in the world. I get all that, but is that, like you said, is that really progress? Is that really something new? Is that really something that pushes the medium into a new place, or just stays in the toolbox they have? And there's more progress to be made than just on the balance sheet and on the ledger line. There's got to be something to be said, like you said, for imagination and progress of what made it all special to begin with. And we're seeing such a lack of that so much.
Yeah.
It's tough. Because most people think of reboots, remakes with like horror or sci-fi or whatever, but that's what Disney's doing with these live action. They're basically remakes, if you could call some of them live action. The Lion King, for crying out loud,
it's still animation.
It's still
CGI.
It's called photorealistic realism.
It's still animation, though. It's not live. Jungle Book was barely live action. You had some live actors in there.
I thought the kid was just the only live action. Everything else is green screen.
I think that's pretty close to the human characters in there were done as regular folk. But it's funny, you think about now that they own Star Wars and own Marvel, and they still don't know what to do with the Muppets, that they would say, well, okay, so that was sort of our fourth phase of the Disney trajectory or whatever. First we were the most magical place, this animation kingdom, then we're the most magical place on earth with the parks, and then doing different things that were adding some edge to it, live action, musicals, blah blah blah, whatever. They kind of brought back the musical even for Broadway in a way when they did Little Mermaid. I remember that Broadway World and theater magazines of that ilk heralded that one and Beauty and the Beast as the best musicals of that year, and they were animated films. So they've done these things were very bold and sort of dare I say daring, and then they bought all these things because they could, and they had all this money. But what's the next phase? What's the next thing they could do? I'm not sure what that is, but it's got to be something other than just saying, well, we'll buy the next thing that we can afford. It seems like they just become like tired old rich people, like Johnny Depp, like, oh, I made $100 million off of the Pirates, so I guess I'll buy a case of wine every week. What? Is that really showing us your talent, Mr. Depp?
But the frustrating thing about it, we all know it. There is such a pool of untapped stories, untapped ideas, untapped IPs, for crying out loud.
So much so
that they could do that they didn't. You know what I wouldn't mind? I would love to see Disney get back to more of its musical roots. Bring something back like the Three Caballeros.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Create a new musical for Broadway rather than just doing Mary Poppins or Aladdin or things that are, again, Beauty and the Beast borrowed from previous cinema. Go out and write a new musical. Spend $100 million and write a new Broadway musical. See what they can come up with. Challenge their creativity partners and whoever they are, or the average Broadway Joe, if they can, to do that and sponsor it. Turn it into a Project Greenlight kind of thing. Just different ways that they could be bold still. But I think that to me would be, just as a reboot of the company, if you will.
Yeah.
Like the next phase has to be to, I think, be bold and daring again.
I think it hasn't gotten to a reboot remake stage yet, but like, that infectious business goals, or whatever we're calling it, the greed, has reached even their acquisition at Pixar, where they're and it's unfortunate that they've attempted some original ideas in the last few years that haven't measured up to their heyday of the aughts. But like, it's when Toy Story 5 and The Incredibles 2 out-earn the Souls and the Elios and the Lucas of the world, they're just going to see the bottom line and go, let's just lean on the sequels and reboots and not try what used to be the feather in their hat, which was really good imagination and original storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying they should bring back Black Hole, but I would bring back.
But you think about different books, to your point. I mean, you would usually, time was with that, and even in Hollywood in the 20s and 30s, they would oftentimes cull from classic literature or, Broadway shows and plays that were popular. And I'll grant you that isn't necessarily original per se, but still, there's great books out there that have never been done. There's short stories out there. Every year they come out with a number of annuals about like the 50 greatest short stories of the year. And they're fantastic. And short stories always make for better movies because you can tell the full story in a 2-hour movie from a short story. Where, trying to get East of Eden into even a miniseries with Florence Pugh was going to be tricky because it's an unwieldy long book. And that's why the James Dean version was only the last third of it. But, Disney could be doing things like that. Like, hey, we have this sense of history, and we've always done movies about that, whether it's, the one original Family Band, which was about the Taft presidency and election, or things like Pirates of the Caribbean, which is going back how many centuries. They're kind of the people that could go back and find these great undone books and stories that maybe would yield something that they could say, this is our 3 of our new movies this year, or maybe we'll even animate them, as opposed to, I don't really think with everything out there, Marvel that they own and all that kind of stuff, we need another Incredibles. As much as I love the Incredibles, I don't think we need that anymore. Right. Especially when over on Amazon, you've got Invincible, which is kind of deconstructing the whole superpower story anyway. Dare I say, with incredible violence. But nonetheless,
incredible violence. What?
Oh my God! And you know what? That's the second most popular show on Amazon.
Yeah. No,
and
I
nobody
believe
ever
it.
covers it. Nobody talks about it. It's like, well, the critics slept. America is like, can't get enough of that. I think it's in its 5th season. They're producing its 5th season.
Yeah. I haven't seen that show yet, but I hear everyone loves it.
Mm-hmm. I hear
they just dropped. Oh, good.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I heard if you love The Boys, it's one that you want to watch, because I love The Boys. So
it's even better than that, because I think it's it's the thing I like about Invincible, beyond the fact that it deconstructs the superhero thing, is it's now become about a world. It's sort of like Star Trek in a way, where there's all these other people out there, and they too have powers. And the way the Kryptonians were able to use their powers here because of the the energy levels in the sun and all that stuff. And they have a lot of that kind of thing going on in different worlds and different planets, and they're not always nice, and they're very competitive, and there's cold wars, if you will, and stuff like that. So it's really about we aren't the only people on the world and the galaxy, and we're also not the only superpower. So it's very clever in these people trying to sort of handle it from all sides.
But again, I think part of the problem is the box office. I mean, you look at it, Toy Story 5, but the masses go, and it
yeah.
earns 100 million whatever dollars in its opening weekend for a fifth installment in a what 30-year-old franchise. I wasn't able to bring up the clip. I'm sorry, folks. I didn't bring up the clip, but I do have a clip of me 1996 reviewing Toy Story. Whereas a young 20-year-old or 21-year-old Mark the Movie Man says hand-drawn animation is dead. That's how I opened the review. I'm like, it's dead. Pixar, I mean, Toy Story just blew our minds when it came out, you know, and we really haven't had that type of animated film or whatever anymore because they keep going back to the same well. Monty, you did a video on it. What's coming back again? Freddy. What the hell, man? I mean, what are your thoughts with that? Well, I'm sure you thought. I know you did the video for it, but
yeah, it's not surprising because that's what's moved. Hollywood follows trends. That's what they do. And unfortunately, right now, there's nothing original anymore. Despite the success of Sinners and Weapons and any other, but it's just no originality anymore. It's just like, what's the latest IP? That's the reason why we continue to get a new Freddy. You know, Paramount went and talked to Wes Craven's wife and his son, his widow and his son, and now we're getting a new Freddy. And they basically bought Wes Craven's original script. But that's what Hollywood does now. They all follow trends, and the trends right now is IPs. There's nothing original when it comes. They don't want to take any risks. When they try to do something that's a risk, nobody goes to the movies anymore. That's another problem, you know, because the audience is telling Hollywood we only want to see films about properties that we already know about. Unfortunately, like I said before, there has to be something special, like Sinners was something special, like Weapons was something special, or like put it this way, even the Odyssey, but that's Christopher Nolan. That's something different. Anything he does is fantastic. But that's the problem right now. No
Well,
Hollywood studio.
Well, I think to your point too, Monty, it's not only just that they're lazy and they, go towards something that they all know, but I think the studio decision makers, it's just like do Wolverine have to be in every X-Men movie? Yes, because that's the only one they know. And they're not smart. They don't get educated about what their green light. It's like, is Wolverine gonna be in this one? They got with the claws, right? Because that's pretty cool. Oh yes, sir. We'll be sure to put, and Hugh Jackman, he's already call Hugh Jackman. We need him for this, even though it's not in the original Days of Future Past story. What? And I think, with these one, everybody knows Freddy. Everybody knows these things. But even when they come up with something like 2-3 years ago, they had Megan, this doll who was basically an AI run amok, which was ahead of the game about an anti-AI kind of thinking
about
method.
About 2 years before what I call the AI going wrong
exactly.
coming up.
Exactly. But here's an interesting thing about Megan is they screwed it up already by the second film. Because
I know.
in the studios, in the C-suite said, it's really going to be tricky to do a franchise around this villainous doll. And then she's a girl, and we don't want to get into all this, anti-female stuff. So let's do what James Cameron did in Terminator 2 and turn the franchise on its head by taking the Terminator and making him a good one. And we'll have some other doll that's bad. And they ruined it. And the movie nobody talks about anymore. Nobody wants to see a Megan sequel. But there was an original IP that came through. Watch, they'll screw up Obsession and Back Rooms, which came out of left field as indies and stuff. And we talked about this the other day. Like, if you're going to do Back Rooms, it needs to be about a world, a sort of new haunted house created that is based on your trauma. And you watch, they will have the same yellow rooms in the sequel. And it's like, they really should do it. Like, how about somebody who's afraid of drowning and everything becomes water? There are these TikTok videos. I don't know if you've seen them. I don't know the names of the creators because there's a bunch of them, but they do these point of view shots of roller coasters and they have like these terrible beasts coming out of the water or just freaky, statues of clowns that are 200 feet tall. It's terrifying. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they should do for back rooms. It's like, you afraid of water? You afraid of drowning? You afraid of monsters under the
No,
water?
that's
Let's see what that's going to be. But you watch, they'll say, are we going to have those retail rooms that look yellow again in the 70s and 80s?
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I loved It Chapter 2, because that Paul Bunyan statue was creepy.
Yes, very well done. Very well done.
It was. But no, I mean,
That combination.
Oh, go ahead, Don.
That combination of, Jeff, you're right on. Like, that combination of creative bankruptcy plus laziness is probably easy to do and cheap, and that's the problem. Like, yeah, they don't need a big think tank of ideas when they can just roll out what they want to roll out, and it's lazy and it works. But that is just, it's just making it worse just by, it's whatever euphemism you want to put there, cut your nose off to spite your face kind of thing, where they, as long as it's making money, they don't care. And at some point, I hope, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I root for an audience pushback to be like, hey, enough of this. And the superhero fatigue that is here and there, that comes and goes, because we know as soon as Doomsday gets here in December, we're going to forget about superhero fatigue, because they're going to blow our doors off with a big thing that everyone's been hoping for.
That's going to stop. That's going to stop when Spider-Man comes out.
Right?
Yeah,
you're right. It might even.
It's already sold more
weeks,
tickets than
And if that stops in 2 weeks, like, it's never. That's why I kind of do the too big to fail thing, where, like, as much as there's lows, when the highs get here, they're so damn high that there's no stopping the beast. You know, at least in that genre.
Well, and the thing is, I just wish they would just go, okay, that's a great one-off. Let's do another story, rather than immediately turn some. Look at it: weapons, back rooms, obsession.
Yeah,
it can't just be that story. The minute that took off, you're like, oh, we should do a spin-off. Hey, you know what? With weapons, everybody loves this character. Let's do an entire movie spin-off of her. Oh, back rooms, we got all kinds more. You know, Obsession. Oh, let's do a sequel to Obsession. You're like, wait, how are you going to do that? You know, and it's just one of those things where, why don't you leave it alone? Another
or the challenge becomes. Oh, good, sorry.
I was just gonna say it. Another on my lawn moment is 80s, early 70s. They rarely planned for an actual sequel. They were like, we're putting all our eggs in this basket because this basket may have a hole in it. And then when it does hit, they're like, oh, that's great. Okay, what we got next on a project? You know, they take that money and put it into something new. Occasionally, yes, you would get sequels, but I always hearken back to an interview that Kevin Smith did with Bruce Willis before there was some rough areas between them. But when they came out with, was it Live Free or Die Hard? And Smith was in there in the behind the scenes stuff. They did an interview with him, and Bruce Willis was like, it was the 80s. Nobody knew how to do sequels. I mean, outside of Lucas, who had his 3 films, they didn't know what to do with sequels.
Rocky was probably your best. There's what?
Yeah, Rocky
before 1984. Yeah.
I mean, outside of that, because even with The Exorcist and Jaws, you know, no one was really thinking about
the diminishing returns.
That's right.
They really didn't think about doing sequels. Yeah, you know, that's the whole thing. It's just like when I first heard about they were making a sequel to Exorcist, I'm like, wow, they're going to do that? How? And then unfortunately, when that came out, I'm like, what the hell?
See, the problem I think you're onto there, and why that movie was hellish, even though aside from the material, is they felt that they needed to tell Regan's story again. No, you don't. You should have somebody else's possessive story. Now, I'll give you just a little bit of off assignment that I did, Mark, just because I think maybe it gets us back on this. Not that we have to per se, but if I was in Hollywood right now, you know, a reboot I'd want to do Paranormal Activity, because they screwed up completely. The story there is not about Katie and her sister and this cult of women witches that is part of their ancestry for the last 100 years. It's complete BS. The story is, oh, wait a minute. There's cameras everywhere. And I mean everywhere. And
nowadays,
they're able to pick up all kinds of stuff, ghosts and things that go bump in the night, and bad people at the door stealing our Amazon packages or whatever else. But what's going to happen here? Here's the pitch. And if anyone in Hollywood is listening, take it and run with it because I'd like to see this. But the pitch is this: okay, Paranormal Activity is ghosts and CC camera, closed circuit cameras in a dormitory, in a church, in a hotel, in a ski lodge, in the home of a E.G. Marshall type of character from a creep show who is so paranoid about people coming in and stealing his stuff that he's got cameras everywhere. What happens when the ghost comes? I mean, obviously scares ensue, of course, but why is the ghost coming? Who is the ghost? Is it something different? And then do you turn one of them into a mystery? Like, we have to figure out who this ghost is and why the ghost is haunting that place. Or is this the ghost trying to tell us that the rich spouse who inherited all the money from her after she died actually drowned her? Or, whatever it is. But it's ghosts, and it's all being caught on cameras that are everywhere, including, dare I say, cell phones, which you could show. I just don't understand how they missed that, but it was only 15 or so years ago. So reboot that. And I think you could literally do 10 of those films. And if you do that kind of thinking, I don't think you'll ever feel that it's like the same old, because you aren't relying on this amateur actress and her sister to carry the franchise. Which is what they did, and it bombed.
I know they
change the cast every time, shake it up. You can be done.
They definitely stretched that particular story too long. I think after the third one, they should have stopped.
Yeah.
Is it irrecoverable because they tried so many sequels to get a reboot that you're talking about?
Nothing's irrecoverable.
Well, people have short
right.
I think people have short-term memories, Don. So if you said
I agree.
Paranormal is back, and you could do
now
here's
with
the trailer.
Ring
It's like, in 2007, a young couple was tormented by a ghost in their house. Now it's 2027, and there's a college that has always talked about having some strange things happening to it. And now we'll find out why.
You're right.
Boom. There's the pitch.
Boom.
You
got it.
Well, I
Good
mean,
call. Good pick.
I had hopes with the marked ones.
That was okay.
That one was okay.
That was okay, but then they shoehorn, whatchamacallit it.
I loved that movie. I enjoyed that. I shouldn't say love. I enjoyed the marked ones until the last 5 minutes, to where suddenly he jumps through a door and, oh, wait, we're back at the original house of the original movie, and we're connecting this because you didn't think that this took place in the same. I would love paranormal. I'm with you, Jeff. They could do a lot of things. You mentioned the hotel thing. The way my brain works, I apologize. I always have this warehouse of just chipmunks working on ideas. You could take a hotel thing, have a serial killer in a hotel thing who goes, oh, okay, but doesn't realize there's a malevolent spirit in there doing the deaths. And you have them kind of on this collision course of him choosing some victims, but other people dying. And then he's got, like, you could do all kinds of things. Or like with the marked
do
ones,
all kinds of things.
do different supernatural cultures.
Well, Don just got back from Hollywood, and
I did.
One of the most famous hotels that I'm sure he drove by is the Sunset Tower, right there on Sunset Boulevard. It's it was used in The Player, and it's this incredible Art Deco building that Sharon Stone climbed up on the outside of it during her Playboy pictorial in the 90s. And they actually have a ghost that haunts that. Yeah. If you talk to any of the people who work there, they will tell you the story. If you get them sort of private, where they're not in front of a crowd holding court. And it's true. They have a ghost. And the story is that a young woman was thrown down the stairs by her boyfriend in the 20s, and she died in the hotel and has never left. And it's apparently true, because I've asked a couple of people over the years when I've stayed there for work, and they say, yeah, we have a ghost. And sometimes it appears in the mirror. Sometimes it turns lights off and on. It seems to get perturbed by people making too much noise, like it's a quiet ghost or whatever likes her quiet. But the funniest story that I can tell you about it is in Maxim magazine. They did a one-page interview with Jean-Claude Van Damme back when he was a big thing in the 90s. And they said, Jean-Claude, is there anything that terrifies you? And he said, only one thing, the ghost at the Sunset Tower Hotel. And he said it appeared to him in the mirror one time when he was shaving, and he ran out half naked, apparently, onto the street. And the concierge told me that they have had people check out in the middle of the night naked. They're standing there naked saying, check me out,
Damn.
bring my bags down. And they have to send up a busboy to go get the bags. And, I don't know if there's hazard pay for that or they get a special tip or whatever.
Damn.
But, I mean, there's just one. It could be one ghost in a
Mhm.
real hotel. And there it is in
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Find a
I think that
notable
would be
college
fun.
that does the same
Find
thing.
out why it is.
Yeah.
What do you do about it? Do you bring in Zelda Rubinstein? Do you bring in an exorcist? Do you just let it go? Do you try to calm the ghost down? Do you try to section off that part of the hotel? Who knows? I mean, these are the things as opposed to, well, it's really a women's cult and they're going to kill all the men in the way. What?
Mhm.
What does that have to do with ghosts?
Well, never mind the fact that the original Paranormal Activity was supposed to be a one-off. I mean,
Exactly.
for those who may not know, thanks Spielberg. He's the one that gave him the money and the idea to make the first Paranormal Activity
Mhm.
open for a sequel, because in the original one, she gets killed by cops. I mean, it's a brutal. I've watched the original. I saw the original ending. And
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I heard the fact that she actually dies.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, and it's off camera because the camera's in the bedroom. She offs her husband. She's sitting there still doing the rocket and creepy part.
Mhm.
And then night comes and you hear cops in the distance and she stands up and she goes down and you hear them say, quit, ma'am, don't approach, and blam, 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 blam. And it ends with her getting shot nearly off camera. You could just see through the hallway door, her body fall. And I'm like, that was effective. That was creepy.
Right.
Jump scare ending to leave it open for this whole story. This whole story.
And of course, it kept doing that. Like every time at the end, you see these, either it's Katie or whatchamacallem or the whole cult group coming up to the screen with their creepy looking faces.
That's right.
Creepy looking faces, and then it would cut to black. I was like,
And
well,
it's funny too, Monty, too, because I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, the scariest moment in that movie was the freshest moment, and that is where Katie is just standing on the side of the bed, watching her boyfriend sleep, and you see the time code in the corner, and she's standing there for like 8 hours, just standing there watching sleep.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a simple enough trick to do, right? We recorded for 2 minutes and just
you spin the time code. Yeah.
Exactly.
The time code.
That's a different way of making something scary.
Right.
And they could do so much of these kind of things with sort of sequels to horror and stuff like that. But if you bring back Freddy, it's just what's going to happen here? Well, they're going to fall asleep. He's going to kill them in the dreams, and somehow they're going to try to stay awake. I mean, the only thing that's left is how do they not defeat him? Because they think they will, and then they haven't. And that's about the only thing left in the third act to discover.
Yeah.
And I go back to that where they've tried, because even like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, they kind of already tried to reboot and remake it as it went anyway. Like, I think that tile's been squeezed too many times. Kind of along the same line of thinking, I'm kind of in the Lisa Simpson meme school of, instead of remaking great movies, they should remake bad movies that were based on good stories that did not meet expectations. Like, stop touching Freddy. You have a classic. You don't need it. Just go back and watch the old one. There's so many of these movies that get rebooted and remade that don't need it. We didn't need another Psycho by Gus Van Sant. We didn't need. There's so many where, like, just leave the classics alone. Find something that missed that could use a little bit better spin. Like Total Recall didn't need it. You had Arnold's. Even Running Man, truer to the book. But like, I don't know if you needed it. It's. I'm the Lisa Simpson meme.
To that point, Don, I'll give you an example. Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There have been many versions of it. Kirk Douglas did a TV movie version of it back in the 70s. And, they've done the musical on Broadway that David Hasselhoff famously played. This is the moment. No, it isn't. But, I mean, they actually haven't ever really told that story adequately. Now, part of it is because it's a little dry. And the message is that the Victorian Dr. Jekyll really doesn't want to be the good guy. He doesn't want to be the stalwart stand-up guy in this Victorian society who everybody turns to. There's no fun in that. No. He's always the dependable one. He wants to, live a little bit of the life of debauchery. But, I mean, to do that actual story in the proper way, I haven't seen it on screen before. Now, I don't know if there's a version of it done in some foreign country, but I can tell you it's one of my favorite novels, and I've not seen it done particularly well. That's something that somebody could do, and everybody knows it. As soon as you say Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I get it. But what if you told the real story? And I think with what we've learned from things like The Alienist on television and The Prestige, speaking of Christopher Nolan and stuff like that, the Victorian era is fascinating, and it can be very dark and mysterious. They just figured out who Jack the Ripper was from the DNA. So I think there's all these sort of untapped things of that area that, you don't have to rewrite Stevenson so much because, well, audiences won't go for that. They will, and I think that's a great untapped source.
Yeah. Along the same lines, well, go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, that's something that would be interesting. We never got a we all know about Jack the Ripper. How come we never got a horror film about Jack the Ripper?
Closest you got is what, From Hell with the Hughes brothers?
Yeah, and it's a one-off. And I mean, for example, I'll just give you a quick little story. I mean, this is where people don't read. They don't, like I said, these sweet people are like, you're going to put Wolverine in it, right? They'll probably want him in the Jack the Ripper story. Well, they both work with knives, right? One has a hand, though, so it's a little different. Wait a minute. It's a time travel thing. But the fact is, before this DNA evidence supposedly points to the Kaminsky man who's ended up in the insane asylum as the real Jack, a lot of people thought it was this quack doctor named Francis Tumblety. And in fact, I think he was like a number 2 or 3 on the suspects on the Ripper Casebook and some of those expert sites. But anyway, Francis Tumblety, we do know, escaped to America. And that's one of the reasons they thought he was it, because maybe he figured out that they were closing on him in England and he wanted to go to fresh shores to create a new round of terror for somebody in a city where maybe they didn't know him as well. That's a sequel. I mean, that's a Jack the Ripper sequel. It's like, Tumblety in Delaware, I mean, whatever, there's things like that could have lent themselves that even if you're the most cynical guy who likes reboots and thinks that's the easiest money to make in Hollywood, it would still have been valuable there because the story lends itself literally to sequels of his travels to different countries to escape the police.
Yeah. I got something that's I'll offer my suggestion to go with the theme and homework today. In that same realm of like pulpier older fiction, it's not as good as paranormal, but I think it's in the realm of horror where it would be done best by the new age horror artists that are out there today. I think going with the Lisa Simpson meme, I would love to see a proper H.G. Wells Island of Dr. Moreau. I think if you give that to Ari Aster, you give that to Robert Eggers, and you give
it to Robert Eggers.
You get Val Kilmer out of there. You get Marlon Brando out of there, and you
and wasn't there a little pygmy that he
there was
treated as his cat,
the littlest guy, littlest person in the world.
The prostitutes didn't like him, but everybody else in the neighborhood really did.
But if you grizzle that down and then stay as and there's room there, especially with like an Aster and Eggers, to go as fantastical as that old novel dared to do. Now I know we've come a long way where I'm sure someone would prefer, a cheaper modern adaptation of it versus a period adaptation of it. But I think the brilliance of it is the unknown of back then, of what Wells was going for. And I think that would be, in the Lisa Simpson realm of things, a bad movie that has a tawdry history, thanks to Kilmer and Brando, that in the right hands, there's some real good material there where, and along with many other, like, I'm a lover of those old pulp novels where if it's Tarzan and Burroughs, or it's Wells, or it's even John Stone McCulley's old school Zorro, like there's some room to not get too CGI, although I think you would probably need some Avatar level CGI to do Island of Dr. Moreau, but I think there's something really cool there where there's a little bit of name cachet of like people have heard of that, but not maybe as high as other pulp things like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But I think for the educated crowd who reads, I think you'd have a thought-provoking thing there.
It's getting smaller and smaller, that crowd, unfortunately.
It's real small.
That's my nominee.
Yeah, but as far as that goes, that would be a good pick, because you could even modernize it if you want to, or put in a modern age, because genetics and that's always being played with.
Oh yeah,
you could do a lot of things with it that would be relevant too.
Totally.
Today.
Well, it even takes on a Planet of the Apes quality too, because what do you do with the species that you've created, which is half man, half beast, and and yet they're all different kinds of beasts. And what do you do with them? You don't necessarily kill them; they escape. I mean, you get a Planet of the Apes kind of quality where they have their own sort of group of subset of people, or X-Men, where they're mutants, if you will, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, make them superheroes. There you go. Yeah. No,
well, not necessarily, but
I know. I'm kidding.
But what could you do with them where they become ostracized, or they're looking for a place to belong, or they find a village where they belong, and then somebody wants to explode. I mean, there's dozens of things that you could do that are both exciting and stuff. But you're right. It's something that would look new and fresh and exciting to people too, especially with what you can do with makeup today and sort of melding of some of that with maybe some computer effects.
Yeah, Monty, what would you think of Island of Dr. Moreau? Because being the horror fan.
That would be an interesting concept because, like I said, the Val Kilmer and especially the Marlon Brando versions. Oh God,
yeah.
And I mean, I haven't really read the book, but I know the basic concept of it. And yeah, that would be something interesting. I think Eggers would definitely put a good stamp and create a great version. He'll probably stick close to the source material, and with the modern technology, he would definitely make the creatures or the creature effects look very fantastic.
Yeah, Eggers would definitely bring an atmosphere to it for sure, and a creepiness and a look to it that you would want from that story.
Because it's supposed to be monstrously scary and not tacky. So give it like don't give it a PG-13 treatment. Don't give it an X-Men and a mutant treatment. Don't make it because like Matt Reeves doing the Planet of the Apes trilogy, granted something that was monstrous, a bigger world that took over the world. It doesn't need to be that. Like it's the island, not the nation of Dr. Moreau. Like leave it be an isolationist, creepy thing, and that like you said, somebody stumbles upon, and because just like the novel, someone ends up there and questions everything.
And what do you and there's an opportunity for, I think, real humanity in that too, which is I think almost always at the heart of every really great monster movie is where's the humanity inside the monster, or maybe where's the humanity in the way society is treating that monster. If you decide we're not going to just annihilate them and put them all out of their misery, like at the end of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, what do you do with that creature? What do you do with that species that you've created? And maybe there's 100 people, 100 sort of where do they go? I mean, I just think those are narrative challenges to people, whether it's at Disney or any studio or any screenwriting class, UCLA, USC, New York School, whatever. I mean, that would be interesting. Like, tell me a human story about this monster that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Right, I prefer the 57 version. I can't help it.
Oh yeah.
The 57 version is good too. And before we continue further, just a reminder, folks, we are doing this stream tonight live as part of our long streamathon, our 10-hour streamathon. So please, if you get a chance, head over to specialmarkproductions.com/stream and click the donate button, or click the link in the description of this video or the QR code. Help us help out an association. We've actually raised a good chunk of money tonight, surprisingly. So thank you all for tuning in. Now, the only thing I think of now, you mentioned Planet of the Apes type thing, is now I'm thinking of escape from Island of Dr. Moreau. I'm thinking of Beyond Island of Dr. Monroe.
Right.
Someone's gonna overdo that would come, right?
It's gonna happen. It would.
But it's interesting you say that, Bill, because the second movie, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, was an obvious sequel. We'll send another astronaut after him, and we'll bring back Chuck Keston. And those mutants. We knew there was somebody underneath that who was responsible for all this craziness. But boy, did they mix it up and really well when they did Escape from the Planet of the Apes, to bring the 3 apes here. And like, we couldn't deal with the fact that you people ruined your planet. And it's like, well, if we get rid of them, then they can't take over the planet. How did that work out for you?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. When I originally saw all 5 of the Planet of the Apes, and then when they escaped with the Planet of the Apes, and I saw that scene come, I'm like, wow, I'm impressed.
See, and that's the thing, is there are reboots and remakes and such as well that they've done that have tried that along what you were talking about, Don, the Crazies. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy the original The Crazies, but if you look at that, a lot of that takes place in like a couple of rooms, limited budget, limited location. It's a lot of the stories told from one perspective and that. And so when the Crazies remake come out, I'm like, oh, what are they going to do? And they end up telling pretty much the same story, but from a completely different perspective. Instead of being the scientist, you're the cop outside dealing with all of the stuff going on.
You know, it's amazing because most of the people, you know, didn't even know that was an original film. I had to tell them, I said, you know, there was a film that came out that was called The Crazies. I was like, what? Really?
Right. But I mean,
see, that's kind of fascinating though, because see, if there's not that many people who know it, there's an opportunity to use something that isn't that well known, but make sure that more people see it and do it. I don't know, maybe a little bit elevated with actors or production values or visual effects, whatever might help it somehow. But some of those things, I think to your point, I mean, Siskel and Ebert always used to make this point on their show too, is don't remake a great movie, remake a bad movie and make it good.
Lisa Simpson, and it's the same Lisa Simpson mean, and you could do that. And there's so many movies, because I mean, especially Lamont, I know you, Jeff, I know you watch horror as well. Don, I know not so much, but I've watched a lot of B horror in my day. And there's B horror out there that I watch and I go, man, if only they would have had the budget.
Yep.
Right? Exactly. The story is interesting. The characters are interesting. It's just they don't have the budget to pull off what they're trying to do.
Right.
So there's a whole well of 80s horror that you could tap into that doesn't involve Freddy, Jason, or whatever. Hell, bring back the Ghoulies, for crying out loud. Give me some monster, monster horror, you know.
And to that point, I mean, look at one of the greatest horror movies that is, a remake, and that is The Thing. The Thing in 1982 is a remake of The Thing from Another World in 1961. Don Siegel directed, the man who brought us Dirty Harry and you know, some of those kind of movies. But you know, that was one of those things where horror like that, which was also a blend of horror and sci-fi, were B movies. You know, and I mean, James Arness is the thing with the big giant head. It looked like he should have been off writing that cookbook in Twilight Zone. He looks like the same makeup. But To Serve Man, it's a cookbook. But you know, things like that, there are ways to create them. And I think The Thing was very loyal to the idea of this ice station and these isolated men and scientists who aren't prepared to deal with this thing and try to figure out what's going on here. But you know, The Thing was, I think, one of the best remakes ever. And there's a lot of people, I don't know if you horror experts would put it in the top 10, but I know it makes the top 10 of the greatest horror movies of all time. And yet the critics couldn't deal with the gore in 1982.
Nope. Couldn't deal with
gore.
Oh my God.
They couldn't deal with it at all. It's like, what are they talking about? Why are they hating on it? This film was fantastic. The people, when I went to see it in the theater, everyone was skitzing out over, first of all, when the dog exploded. You know, that everyone was skitzing out. That, of course, when they did the defibrillator and the guy's chest opens up, everyone's skitzing out. That, of course, the spider walk.
But I mean, to that point, Monty, I saw when I was in college, and I thought it was fantastic too, because it was, but I mean, also John Carpenter was a smart guy. He cast it with really good Broadway actors. They were all acclaimed from Broadway or off Broadway. Kurt Russell was a very good actor who was doing a very different type of role for him. He was coming off of Used Cars, and you know, he was really, really good in it. But I also love the scene where he cold-bloodedly kills the Richard Masur character, and you know, Keith David accuses him, as like, you just killed an innocent man, and he did. Who's the real villain? It's actually McCready who's kind of the bad guy in it, and you know, yet he's running the show right up until the end. Well, let's just sit here for a few minutes. It's like, we know you'll die, but so will the villain. But is it the same person? Much debate. But I love the fact that somebody said, you know, I guess Carpenter said, I can remake this pretty good idea that just didn't really have the budget to do it proper in 61.
Yeah, I mean, I love The Thing. My oldest son, who grew to love horror, he didn't like horror initially. When he was younger, he couldn't even walk down the video aisle because there were video stores then. He couldn't even walk down. And then he discovered a love of horror, and his favorite horror film is The Thing. And I was like, that made this horror fan cry, this dad. He's like, oh, my son, thank you.
And then of course we have the prequel was it 2011?
Called The Thing.
Yeah.
They called it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I
Yeah.
mean, it was okay, but that was
It was-
definitely a not needed.
No, not
I
necessarily.
I get the idea why, because they want to tell it from the Norwegian side, and everything was fine. But then the studio wanted to change up from the practical effects to use CGI effects, and that ruined the whole movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's funny too. I think sometimes sequels and prequels and reboots, as we were looking at this, they show parts of the story that I think are best left in our own imaginations. You don't
I
really
agree.
have to visualize this. I mean, I
Mm.
love the fact that this dog is running, and you want to like the dog because it's a husky dog, and
Of course.
we don't want to see animals get killed in horror, and they often do. And yet these people are shooting at it from a helicopter. It's like, what the hell's going on here? And it's like to have to go back and explain all that. It's like, well, that took some of the bloom off that rose, as well
It
as
did.
just like, what is going on here? And these people weren't prepared for it, and they sort of thwarted the thing. They thought they were doing a good thing, but they didn't. I love that. I think there's not enough horror and not enough sci-fi where there's like these truly large forces against people who aren't stupid. They just wouldn't have any clue to know what questions to ask.
Mm.
Like I always complain when victims act stupid in horror movies, like, people are disappearing from your party here in Friday the 13th, and you're down to 5 people. But let's continue to go our
Yeah.
separate ways. And
Where's
not have any
Kimberly?
weapons. What are you thinking? But here it's like, these guys are just scientists. They're all tired, and they've all got beards, and they're all a little
Mm.
grumpy and at each other's throats, and they don't know what the heck's going on. And then, I mean, like David Clenny would go, "You've got to be kidding me!" When these things are crawling on the floor and everything like that. It's both like shocking and just ridiculous to them, but it's really funny when they were all tied together and they start trying to get away from the one that is exposed as the thing. That was in the Petri dish. That was fantastic.
No, The Thing is a fantastic film, and it didn't need a prequel. And
Nope.
I think, and that goes back to studios wanting to milk something that was very popular, trying to pull it. And I mean, prepare yourself, folks. If you thought you had the Pooniverse, which is the worst description, where you had public domain
Wow.
Oh,
creatures,
that's right.
that's what it's
Yep.
called, the Pooniverse, because it's
Mhm.
Winnie the Pooh. It
That-
started out with
it's-
blood.
It's actually called the Twisted Childhood Universe.
Oh, is that
Okay.
what they called it?
Sounds
They
nicer on
literally,
paper.
I have seen posters, Monty, where they initially called it the Pooh.
They
Oh.
some call, but the actual title is called the Twisted Childhood Universe, the
Okay.
TCU.
Okay, so that's what they're calling it now.
I
That's not
think
what they
Al-
originally
I think-
called it, Monty. That
Ma-
I got
Ma-
posters. But-
Mark, I think Al Goldstein might have actually copyrighted the Pooniverse decades ago.
But you're gonna get even more of these reboots, remakes, these public
Mhm.
domain stuff.
Wait till Superman and Batman get there in about 8
Oh.
years.
Hey, look, I
Mhm.
actually now keep in mind, I actually saw Hungry a couple weeks
Oh, yeah,
ago.
the
Oh, the
Hippo.
hippo one. Oh,
Yeah,
how was
the
it?
Hippo one. It was actually pretty good. It was actually pretty good. It nothing new, outstanding,
No,
cliche
character.
character.
Play works. Yeah.
Cliche characters.
Sure.
But I actually thought they did a pretty good job. The hippos looked realistic, so I give them credit for that with the practical effects. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised. I wasn't expecting much, but yeah, But I had to educate people because people don't think that hippos are very gentle creatures. I had to educate them. Tell them, no, hippos, you don't want
Kill
to
more
know.
people than sharks. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason why
Hippos are-
crocodiles don't mess with hippos. All right,
Yeah.
No.
Crocodiles avoid hippos.
No, because put it this way, a full-grown male hippo has no natural predators outside of man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Dun, dun,
it's-
I'm sure that
well,
was the script in the beginning of the movie, like the anaconda regurgitates
Ah.
its prey, and yeah. I'm sure.
Let's not forget about the killer sperm whale movie we got coming out. So,
Oh my god, I saw the trailer for that with the Odyssey because I went to a good old fashioned public screening, and was it Whale Fall?
yeah, whale
Yeah,
fall.
whale fall.
Ridiculous.
Well, fall.
That looks so bad. Not so bad that I'm like, oh, I gotta see that, But it just looked like nah. As soon as you take off
I'm
your mask and the digestive system
looking-
of whale, you're gone. Come on.
In the
I'm
first-
looking at this. I'm looking at the movie, and I'm trying to see it. Why is he getting swallowed by a whale? And then it's not that the whale swallowed him. It's that the whale was trying to eat the octopus. The octopus
Yeah,
grabbed
sure. But yeah,
But
come on.
yeah, Yeah,
I know.
Cool trailer, because like it is just that action sequence of, oh shit, I'm getting bit by a whale, and like not like, hey guys, let's go to the beach today, I want to do some whales. Like, it's not a get to know you cutesy trailer, it's a holy crap, here it comes trailer. And not a bad trailer, but dumb premise. So yeah, I don't know. I was waiting for it to be like Jonah. Like, I was waiting for some.
Well, do you remember
bullshit to come out
Orca?
there.
Orca?
Oh,
that
yeah.
came out
Yeah.
after
Oh yeah,
Jaws?
Yeah.
I've got the soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's Orca.
Yeah,
that
'cause-
came out. Was that before Jaws?
It was
I think
after.
it was. I
It was
think it was
after.
a couple. It had to be after Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it after?
It had to be
I
after
mean,
Jaws
Richard Harris.
he was
did
in
I'm
that.
the
waiting
one
for
in it, yeah.
like bluegill. Just so weak ass.
Well,
sometimes,
then
you know.
they had Piranha. And,
Yep.
Right. Well,
know.
piranhas can kill you. You know, I get it. But
Well, but I mean, they all wanted these creatures of the deep, you know.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Nurse Shark. That's that one, dude. No, just kidding.
Right. Northern Pike.
Northern Pike.
That's for you in the cheddar curtain over.
Guppy.
Muskie. Yeah.
Guppy. There you go. The killer. I
Actually,
think there's a
the-
killer goldfish movie, actually.
Probably.
I hope not.
No, I think there is. I think that
Listen, you horror mavens, there is, of course, the Night of the Lepus, where they
Oh.
turn adorable
Oh,
little
yeah.
bunnies into giant creatures of, like lettuce was just the beginning.
giant
If you
rabbits.
You want to see the terrible effects of trying to create rabbits to make them look frightening.
And everything was in slow motion, like they'd have
I
like
know, yeah.
They filmed rabbits in slow motion on some train,
just-
model train set.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
so
makes it
bad.
seem so
I mean,
Oh,
put it this way:
yes.
as bad as Birdemic was with the
Birdemic. Oh god.
yeah, Birdemic, yeah, the Night of the Lepus is like, come on, at least Food of the Gods was better than believable than that.
Yeah.
Of course, that was a sequel. I mean, horror is famous for sequels and reboots and remakes, but
Yeah.
seeing it with other properties
Hey, Ian.
nowadays is
What's up, Ian?
kind of crazy. Hey, Ian, how you doing? Ian Simmons has joined us.
I am
Yeah.
very tired and I've got my cough back thanks to this
Uh-oh.
lovely
Okay.
Canadian wildfire weather.
Yeah, the wildfire
Yeah.
weather is down by you.
I wanna-
guys,
I wanna-
too.
Thank you for spraying that wildfire stuff down in here in Pennsylvania. The
Oh,
terrible
you
day
guys
that
got it there
Made it to
too.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
we
we've
got
got
it there.
it's not comforting when you see the map and it says very unhealthy and you're in that region of smoke up
Mhm.
here in the north. Oof.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you can
Well, that was
tell.
based on the weather. I thought that was just my map personally attacking me. Glad you cleared that up. Thanks.
But no, that's a good one. Don, getting back to your pick was Island of Dr.
Yeah.
Moreau to be rebooted. I could see that. That would be handy
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
So glad you joined us.
Monty, you got one?
Ian,
I got one.
We'll go to Monty's and then we'll get to
Oh.
Ian. So Ian, Monty,
You
what
bet.
do you got for your film you wouldn't mind seeing rebooted or remade?
One of my favorite horror films from the 70s, and that is The Car. I would love to see a remake of The Car and then have it
Ooh.
modernized. They can put it
Yeah.
put it this way: it could even be an AI going haywire again, or AI going wrong again. But that's what I would love, because as much as I love The Car, which is actually, I believe, is the first Jaw ripoff when it came off, because it's similar to Jaws. You really don't see the car. It kills people. It has a great sound effect or a great music when the car, and of course, I just love the horror. But yeah, definitely would love to see a remake of the car.
Oh wow, I haven't thought about that film in a long time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, that's yeah.
What
You
was
could
the
do AI gone amok with
Yeah.
it.
I know it's not the same premise, but it's like that a car could kill you thing. What was the Anthony Hopkins narrated movie last year?
I think it was called Trapped. I saw it. That was actually
it,
pretty.
was
it was
like
actually
Bill Skarsgård stuck in the car, or which actor
yeah,
was
yeah.
that?
He was stuck in the car. Yeah, it was actually pretty good. It dragged a little bit too long, but it was
Sure.
actually good. Both him and Anthony Hopkins were pretty good
Yeah.
in the film.
Wow.
Is that close enough, or not the same premise you're looking for?
Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah,
It's close enough.
but still, of the actual, so you don't see the car. I think that'd be interesting to see it. Then,
Mm.
especially with all the self-driving cars you have
yeah.
now, which
Like I said,
leads me
Waymo.
to I wouldn't be against a Maximum Overdrive remake then. If we're going to the car, Lamont, to go along your vein, share similar with you. I think there's potential for, and as much as we're doing AI amok, as in robots and humans and Megan, and now they got Soulmate coming out. Give me devices that actually go awry, like actual, not human and not anthropomorphic bullshit. Give me devices that we rely on go amok. But I'm loving the car. Jeff,
Air
what do you think of the car remake?
Yeah, I remember that movie, and it had a really Tony cast, considering it doesn't seem like it when you hear the description of it. But yeah, I mean, I think that kind of stuff, especially knowing that, that's the other thing that I think there's a truth to right then. And there's, outside of a mode of transportation, a car is something that can kill you. It can kill the driver, it can kill a passenger, even going at 20 miles an hour, as we've seen all of those sort of warning videos and films in school. So yeah, I mean, I think there's an inherent danger in that. And I think in the world of AI and electronics and our over reliance on everything, them, for whatever reason, maybe don't explain it. It's all like the whole grid is just sort of malfunctioned, and what we are relying upon, that simple microwave seemed like nothing more than heating up your Jimmy Dean breakfast, and yet it's now going to get you with gamma radiation and blind you. Go to school, Billy. You're 8 and you're blind.
Well, that's an interesting idea. Like if the appliances just turned on people, because I mean, that's, from my understanding, that's why they've got all that shielding in microwaves, is that cannot get out of containment. So if you had one of the machines kind of like breaking open the microwave and then the microwave turning itself on to like irradiate the family, that would be really cool. Like working together. Yeah.
A whole
I mean, it's like the birds. They never explain why the birds are doing what they are,
The mystery's better.
So the mystery is just like, who knows it, but somehow we probably have it coming for something we've done,
And I think that's actually part of the issue I have. And I've had this discussion with my son, who's 26 now. Oof. He's 26 now. But I've had the discussion with him because he's of the newer generation, of film watchers, the 20 somethings. And I asked him, I'm like, do you really need an explanation of why everything happens in a film nowadays? Because
we're done.
And we've had discussions about it, because I'm like, it feels like that. It's like any new horror film or whatever comes out, they try to have to give you an explanation of, well, this is why it is the way it is.
Well, the thing, we're overdoing it even with whole movies,
Do a prequel. We're doing a prequel with weapons. We've got creepy old witch. She's a creepy old witch. Everybody loves a creepy old witch. I don't need a full story of why she's a creepy old witch. She's a creepy old. That's what makes it creepy. The theater of the mind has been closed, is what it is.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's slightly different because, like, particularly in horror movies, they've always done that. Most horror movies that we know and love explain what's going on. The key is they don't spend an entire movie doing it. Right. I mean, you get to the end of Friday the 13th and you get Mrs. Voorhees' speech about what happened to her son, and that drove her crazy. Nightmare on Elm Street, it's the conversation between Nancy and Mom in the boiler room.
And a psycho.
It's like, the thing is, pretty self-evident. But yeah, I think the issue is when you get into the remake territory, and they feel like they've got to do something new. So that you've got, Michael Bay producing those Platinum Dunes remakes that we all know and love, of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the origins of how many times are they going to explain the origins of that family? So yeah, I don't have a problem with people explaining stuff in horror movies, especially if you can go the other way and say, we're not going to explain it, but instead of doing it in a way that suggests there is great thought and intentional mystery behind what's going on, it's just sloppiness. Like in the beginning of everyone's favorite movie, Obsession, the whole thing with the cat getting into the childproof bottle of pills at the beginning is the inciting incident. That's never explained. And I don't think that's a minor oversight. When I ask people about that, they're like, oh yeah, that is kind of dumb. Like, what happened there? I'm like, exactly.
No, I picked that up quickly because the minute I was like, well, damn, how did the cat get? Damn, that guy's terrible. You know he's supposed to not keep bottles anywhere so a cat can get it too, man. Be more responsible.
And they all have child temper caps on. So
That's the
if
thing
you-
is it got
yeah,
into the child
Right.
because I
But I love
thought
the fact that they didn't explain it. Like they assume that you can figure that out on your own.
Yeah.
You know, knowing some of the
I got an
life
answer here.
experience we have.
It's Mr. Jinxie's from Meet the Parents. It's a well-trained, military-trained cat. It's Robert De Niro's fault.
he had just gotten
Mr.
done
Jinxie.
being milked and he needed some pills to take the edge off. I get it.
Right? Yeah.
That's very funny.
To your point with the car, Lamont, just to come back to that, because I'm thinking of all different options you could do with that. You could literally have, ghost in the machine if you want to do it that way,
Yeah.
where it's taken over and it jumps smart cars, set it in the slight, and you don't know what exactly this is. That's, could be code, could be a ghost, whatever. Everything's connected to Wi-Fi now. I mean, I'm surprised we don't have more device horror.
Me too. Closest we got is what? Searching, and it's like missing, like it's 2, 3 sequels.
Search.
Oh, you
Yeah,
also
search.
had AI from a couple summers
Yeah.
ago, or not?
that's right.
Or what?
Artificial,
talking
yeah,
about-
yeah.
Artificial and
Talking about you're not talking about
afraid. That's what it was. Afraid.
Okay.
Yes,
Afraid,
that
yeah,
one.
with
Oh,
yeah.
my- that was
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
That movie is terrible.
But that was terrible because they
Yeah.
they wrote that so poorly.
Yeah. Searching
yeah,
is
I-
awesome though. Yeah, that's one.
I think
See,
the
the
problem.
interesting.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead. No, go ahead, Ian. Go.
I was going to say, I think one of the reasons we don't have more of it is because the ones that we do have tend to come out and not do anything. They don't
Yeah.
make much of an impression. And I feel like it might be, to borrow a terrible phrase, too soon, which we'll get to when we talk about my choice for a remake.
Okay.
Anyhow,
Uh-oh.
it's kind of like war movies. Like there were a whole bunch of movies that came out 20 years ago in the middle of the Iran-Iraq war, and then movies about 9/11, all that. They all came out and they flopped because people are like, we're living through this right now. We don't need to go pay for our escapism and feel like we're watching 2 hours of CNN starring Jake Gyllenhaal. So I think we need to get some. And the other problem when you're dealing with technology is by the time you get a movie written and into production into the theaters, the technology already mutated. So it's
Yeah.
like,
So true.
it's not even relevant anymore. It's
Mhm.
laughable.
Yeah, it almost has to be more metaphorical than literally trying to
Well said.
capture the latest, greatest real-time villain.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. I could see that for sure. See, for me, I'm like sitting there going, superhero is untapped horror. Superhero genre is untapped horror right there.
Well, we're getting Clayface later out this
we
year.
are getting Clayface. We got Brightburn, which
Yeah.
I think Brightburn is fantastic. In all honesty,
Oh yeah,
for a horror-
Brightburn
Holds up.
was decent.
Holds up.
Brightburn was decent. Yeah, I
I mean,
love.
I don't want to add another nominee, but Spawn could use a remake and a better one. And
They've been
R-rated
trying.
and-
It's been
you know.
McFarlane has been talking about directing
For
that
20 years,
for
I know,
more than
yeah.
a decade. And they
But I mean-
every once in a while you hear like an update, like, "Oh, we're gonna go into production, guys, and
Mhm.
Jenny Fox is still on board." I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, look what happened with the Crow with that. Look at what
Oh.
happened with the Crow with that.
Oh,
When
yeah.
10,
Pro
15
Spawn
years-
team up movie. There you go.
Oh.
Ouch.
Want to get in the Kalshi market and see which is due out earlier. Pro or Spawn.
But like Brightburn, and I know they tried to do it with what was it, the New Mutants, but they had that
Little
went
bit,
through
yeah.
so much production hell that by the time it got
Mhm.
produced,
COVID.
it was such a jumbled mess. But I mean, if you look at Marvel Zombies, I actually like the animated series of Marvel Zombies on Disney. I enjoyed that story because I'm like, give us some horror. If people are looking for something different with your superhero film because you're tired of the same thing, give me some of that. I wouldn't have minded it be a live action one. Get the same actors back, but play in Elseworlds Marvel Zombies with the same actors, but they're actually zombies.
I mean, we have Doomsday coming out.
You think those are zombies already?
Wow, you said that so
what
straight.
Doomsday
Yeah, that
is?
was
It's going to be an
very
hour
impressed.
of credits because it's going to have so
Oh my
many
God.
people and special effects. It's going to be 90 minutes, and then the rest of the half hour would just be credits. Okay,
But it's
that's
like
what-
3 hours.
By the
I
way,
heard.
one of the things we haven't necessarily talked about, it's a little
Yeah.
bit of a tangent, but I think it's an interesting one. and that is, of course, it's called show business, not show art, as we've heard that many, many times.
Mhm.
But a lot of times the are generational kinds of decisions that I'm not sure I entirely understand, and I'll give you two samples of them, and they're both connected to Agatha Christie. One is 15 years ago, for the first time in like 10 years, Agatha Christie book sales across the planet were down significantly.
Mm.
And people just didn't know who she was anymore. I mean, there had not been movies made of her work, and the TV series with David Suchet was
Come and gone.
known, and it was gone, almost
Yeah.
all done by then. And they went, well, there's other stories, and there's all this stuff, blah blah blah. And so they sold the rights to the BBC to take some of her greatest stories and redo them. Now, that's fine if you want to say we're doing it for a new generation, but they started with and then there were none. I don't know if you saw it. In fact, I was just thinking about it, and I watched a little of it the other day because Sam Neill just died, and he played the general in it. It's usually a throwaway role. He's, I think, the second or third person killed in it. And Sam Neill was in it more because he's Sam Neill, and he was great in it. And it was very, very dark, maybe too dark. But they attempted to do a bunch of these, and some of them were more successful than others. But they're now doing the same thing. They're bringing back Hercule Poirot. They're starting
don't
with a
start my
younger
wife. Go ahead. Sorry.
well, they're starting with a younger actor who nobody knows outside of England, and they've cast him. And they're doing 3 stories to start it off with, as I think of a sort of as a trial run. But the thinking again there was, the 70s had Albert Finney and Peter Ustinov, and then the 90s and 2000s had David Suchet, and he might have been the quintessential version of what Christie wrote. In fact, the name of that show was Agatha Christie's Poirot, not just Poirot. But they sometimes reboot these things or restart them, knowing that unfortunately, a number of people in the generational world out there, something that happened in even 2010 is considered too old.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I told you the story the other day, Ian, but I was talking with somebody at work when I was at work a few months back, and we were talking about John Hughes movies, and she basically dismissed John Hughes like he was Charlie Chaplin, like, oh my God, I'm not going to watch those old comedies. And I had to start thinking, well, I guess so. In the 80s and 90s,
it's coming up on half a century, Jeff.
Half a century ago, and that's old. And when I was a kid watching Charlie Chaplin theater in the 60s, that was only 40 years after Charlie Chaplin was having his heyday in Hollywood. So I felt very old and out to lunch.
Here's how you update Agatha Christie for modern times. You have like an exploitation murder mystery set in a convent. You make it really sexy and you call it "And Then There Were Nuns."
Oh God!
Now we're talking.
Now you're.
There's
I
some
like the
sizzle
way
there.
you're thinking
Are
here.
we
man.
back
Hell
on the
yes.
Al Goldstein page? You missed it. You have to go back and watch the show.
Then
But
there
there
were
were some
nuns.
very funny puns, or dare I say poons, about
What? What kind of show did I miss,
exactly.
sir?
Yeah,
The one you just none dropped us in.
But
I know,
it is
yeah.
interesting how they redo things just to get an audience that will, I guess, for whatever research shows, not give older things the time of day.
Trust me, I have heard things about the Agatha Christie remake, because my wife, she's a huge Poirot. I mean, a huge one. She likes the Kenneth Branagh ones, the parkour Poirot, and Murder of the Orient Express. She just didn't like Haunting in Venice. That movie made her so angry when we came out of it. I thought it was great, and she's like, "Oh, I am so," and I'm like, "Okay," because I didn't know the source material or anything, but she's not liking this. I mean, you want to talk about taking classic concepts and spinning them. I think the most success they've done with them is Sherlock Holmes. Davies did a.
You're not talking about the Robert Downey Jr. ones.
No. I'm talking about the BBC. It's not a movie; it's a TV show. But
with Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I figured you were talking about.
Yeah,
talking about him,
I'm not talking about those with. Yeah.
Well, you
Guy
had the
Ritchie's,
Jeremy Brett version from the 80s, and I think he did a decade almost those, which were really loyal to the books and incredibly well produced. And then years later, the same people who rebooted Doctor Who, Steve Moffat and Mark Gadnis, decided to update Sherlock Holmes. And I think, some of the purists out there I know didn't like Sherlock, but it was very well done. It was very popular. And if you're going to have him be a texting guy and a modern creature, I mean, I thought they did a pretty good adaptation of sort of the updating there. If that's your intent and purpose, I have to applaud those guys for doing it well.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, that's when Davies was really not doing much wrong. He had to come back for the last Doctor Who. It's like, Davies, no, you should have stayed away. But the Sherlock Holmes, I hope he doesn't do anymore. There were talks at one point, but I hoped he didn't, because what they did produce, was a nice modernization. It still felt like Sherlock. He still felt like Sherlock. It still felt like Watson, but it was a nice modern update. The story, they added a little bit different to the character, yet giving a little more modernization explanation of why Sherlock was the way he was, but it still didn't take away from those stories at all.
Isn't it interesting too that good, I'm sorry, mind you go ahead, please, Sam.
Did y'all see the Elementary TV show?
I was just gonna mention that was pretty fun. I like that.
I think they've done a number of good versions of it. I also think it's interesting too that with the Downey Jr. version, you had him telling us what was going to happen beforehand, which was kind of an interesting angle. Like, first I'll incapacitate him by a blow to the ear, and then you see him plan it all, and then he doesn't happen. But what I loved about Sherlock is you see him thinking in real time. They just show the visuals.
Right.
Like he's looking at the upturned collar, wet on the inside, wet on the outside. The collar was not turned up for the rainstorm. Blah blah blah. Then he puts that together. So we're thinking his thinking process. They did the same thing in some respects in the Elementary thing. Is, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes is a great character, and the guy who's that smart and thinking. I mean, most of the shows that were done in the 70s, like Columbo and Banachek and some of that, were variations on
variations of Columbo. Yeah,
totally.
Columbo for sure.
Oh, I love Columbo. I like.
Just
Columbo. One more question. My wife.
One question, please.
They went through the studios. I think there were 8 of them back in those days. They went through the studio. William Levinson and Richard Link went through the studio system 3 times to try to sell them that. And each time they said, "Why would you show the murderer doing it? And why?" And they said, "Well, this is a how done it, and can Columbo figure out who done it?" But see, the brilliance of that too is that we then became interested in Columbo's solution of it, but we also were sort of complicit because we were there with that murderer when he did his thing. So we were interested in a little more sympathetic towards him, maybe not getting caught.
Dramatic irony is good when you use it right.
Had trouble selling the studios that until finally they took it to NBC and they said, "Okay, you've had a track record, you've worn us down. We'll let you do a pilot."
Well, it's the whole Alfred Hitchcock thing of, sure, you can show the explosion, but if you show the bomb before the explosion and then have the conversation, it builds more tension. Here with Columbo, the villain, it's like, how are they going to catch him? And so now you're invested. You're like, how are they? And then if they miss a clue, you're like, oh, but he's right there. He's right there.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're smarter than the smart detective.
Yeah, but the thing I like about Elementary was the fact that I think that was the first time they had a female play Dr. Watson.
Yes, that's right. Lucy Liu. She was his sponsor.
I know. Yeah, I can imagine just hearing the nitwits and rage haters going crazy now if it came out now.
Oh yeah, that's
no. That if it had been a period piece, then you would have heard some outrage.
Yeah, that's true. With it being modern, it doesn't bug them as much.
A lot of those same folks really dug Elementary.
Yeah. Yeah, surprisingly. And Ian, what was your choice?
Oh, here we go.
Well, it's funny that we were talking about that. My choice is The Odyssey.
Here we go. Next Wednesday.
I want Christopher Nolan to remake The Odyssey with a script that was written by someone who has read and understands the actual text and that he cannot deviate from. That's what I want.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying
technical Marvel complete dud of a story.
So you're just saying I should just watch I'll just watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou again. So
wow, you could. Yeah.
Well, I mean, no. Here's the thing. Oh brother, we're out there. We're out. Oh brother, where art thou? Is the Coen brothers announcing that they're going to be reinterpreting a classic story
True.
through the element of the 1920s. If Nolan had said, and I won't, I'm going to talk about this next week. So if Nolan had said, if he'd called the movie Odysseus, or if he had done the thing they did a few months ago with Emerald Fennell and just put quotes around the Odyssey, like they did with Wuthering Heights, oh, this is all bullshit. I get it.
Yeah.
Now I can get on the wavelength. Then I don't think it would have been as upsetting. But
No.
as someone who has read and loved both of those books and those works, and is, it's presumptuous because by rewriting it, you're saying, I am better. I know better than the person who wrote the foundational text of Western literature, and he just doesn't.
That's the tricky knife edge with dramatic license and creative license, where you're getting, no matter what you're remaking, rebooting, or adapting, to go with the theme of the show, you're at the mercy of the creator and what their chops are. In this case, we're talking about Nolan and what how he wants to do it, what he wants to put his stamp on, his stylings, his penchants, his picadillos, whatever you want to call it. He's got them. Every filmmaker does. Like, we can probably sit here and talk about reboots and remakes done by, if it was just done by this person instead of this person, because of whatever their creative tendencies, they maybe lend themselves more to a certain way we expect a certain property to be done. Like, I'm sitting here talking about Island of Dr. Moreau, where, and Lamont agreed with me, like, put that in Robert Eggers' hands instead of John Frankenheimer's hands, and get Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer out of there, and you see a difference. Like, it's not so much the material that needs to spin, it's the creator doing it that needs to spin. And that's a slippery slope, and a challenge with any of these, is like, nothing fits in 2 hours, and everything is going to be at the mercy of the creator who thinks they can do it.
I know. I mean, take a look. What
sorry,
Mike Flanagan's doing. He is doing a Carrie remake, in the TV series.
Right.
He's got his own version of The Exorcist coming out.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking forward to that, because after what David Gordon Green did with his particular version of The Exorcist. and everyone wants to get rid of that one, and it's like everyone's looking forward, because everyone knows how great Mike Flanagan is. So that
Not everyone does.
But it's funny you say that, because it's I think it's interesting. Again, we're talking about the theme of this show, but like, he did such a good job. I grant you, it was a reboot, the Haunting of Hill House, and then he did a couple other things that were sort of based on other stuff. I wonder what Flanagan would do with something really new if he was given the kind of budget and kind of autonomy that he was given on those projects to make them smarter versions of it. Like the Haunting of Hell House, or the Vincent Price, I always forget the name of it. It's
House
the
on
Haunted
Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
The House on Haunted Hill. It's cheesy, but it's also very effective in many respects. And because of its time period, we can laugh at that skeleton kind of slowly walking towards. It's like, did you not see the strings? Come on.
Yeah.
It's not that dark of a room. But up until then, a lot of it was pretty effective. But there's ways to update these things and do them better. And I think Flanagan did that with that concept. Yeah, it's. I don't know if I need to. I'm going to give reserve judgment, and I don't want to sound like that guy who's like, I'm already writing the review and I haven't seen a frame. But I don't know if Carrie needed to be retold. But it's been retold on Broadway. It's been retold a couple times. Are there other horror stories? Are there short horror stories that are in those volumes every year that I talk about that are just waiting to be turned into movies and shows that nobody's doing, that would be novel for everybody?
Well,
novel.
Let me ask this question about Carrie. I've seen a couple of stills, or like scrolled past websites that had stills. Is it a period piece, or is it contemporary? Like, are these Gen Z kids?
I think it's contemporary, because I don't know if it's taking place in modern times or not.
Okay.
I saw was a couple of screenshots. It looks like
it looks pretty contemporary to me, because she doesn't even look like she's that unusual, but I could be wrong. I will see.
Yeah, I'm curious about it, but it's not surprising, because I mean, Stephen King is basically Marvel at this point. They're just gonna keep going back to that well. It's all about branding and not really content, or quality of content.
That's our fear that we were talking about before you got here, is like we can think about things that can get remade and rebooted, but it's all happening in the same machine of money. and like you said, IP, like we're in that laziness and creative bankruptcy era that we're all
it's
fearing
people who
here.
don't know. It's people who don't know. You have people in
Yeah.
the C-suite who just don't know. Why does Wolverine appear in every X-Men movie? Because that's the
Mhm.
only X-Men character those people know.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman in it, right? Oh, of course,
Yeah.
of course, of course.
Till he's 90.
But if you say,
I know, yeah, because
there's
it-
50
because-
X-Men that have never been in a movie. Really?
because it's like this. I had to actually tell people. I said this is based on the comic book Days of Future Past. He's barely in it. It's not just his story. It's the
Exactly.
X-Men story.
It's Kitty
But
Pryde's
unfortunately,
story, and she's barely in it.
Mhm.
I know, yeah, and she's not even in the movie. Actually, no, she is in
No.
the movie, but she's not the
But
main.
she's barely in it, Monty.
Yeah,
She's,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know, yeah, that's right, yeah.
She's behind the two different Magnetos and two different Professor X's.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, my preference is not necessarily remakes, it's re-release.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about,
Okay.
oh, you can go see Fathom Events, 2-night only screening. I'm talking about
Mhm.
the studios that are sitting on these gold mines of beloved properties.
Mhm.
You could take a risk with just a few $1 million and just say, you know what, James Gunn, we appreciate your service. Well, not really, because you're losing us almost $1 billion. But we're going to take a fraction of what we paid you and re-release the 78 Superman. And we're going to put this amazing marketing and publicity push behind it to make people think that they're seeing something great and new, that they have to go see this because it's a movie-going event. And I'm just curious about what would happen with that. Like, can you make something like Casablanca cool without remaking it? Just
Ooh,
put it
good
out there
question.
and say, this is, it's a movie about fighting fascism, because that's like
Sure.
the big buzzword right now. Go see, one of the great movie romances of all time. There are smart enough people. There are people who can sell us the garbage that we're paying to see right now in the multiplex because they make it attractive enough.
Mhm.
It passes some kind of sniff test. They could do that with older stuff. They can make it cool.
It's a
worked.
great question. Well, because it's actually, you're actually onto something that I think is a very fundamental question about generations. And I know that every generation thinks that the next generation is the laziest, stupidest, blah, blah, blahest. But I will say this, that from my experience as an advertising person, I did plenty of research and had clients that were, doing products for kids and toys and aimed at teenagers and stuff like that, and listening to them talk about different things. And it is a little bit of that John Hughes story that, like, 50 years ago, well, he might as well be Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
But I love that idea. Like, to me, there's so many great movies, and I must just say, from my own experience, and I think you've maybe heard me tell this, a few of you, this story, but one time I was on the road, and the hours were sort of screwed up, and I ended up turning on Turner Classic Movies, and the Judgment of Nuremberg was just starting. It was a 1961 film, and it's 3 hours long, and that was very different in those days. And I ended up watching the whole thing, and I was blown away. It was not only really well acted, it's a great courtroom drama, but it's like, oh my God, we all think that we're the arbiters of edge. And here in 1961, they had so much edge. The arguments in there, the language. They showed the freeing of the camps film, which is first time most people in the world had seen that, and it was in Stanley Kramer's movie, because most of that was not shown in the the newsreels and some of those kind of things that were still in the movie theaters. And you wonder how the heck that had so much. And I was just like, that's such a modern movie. It felt modern today. Now, grant you, it was in black and white, and you recognize Judy Garland, some of those. But I mean, even to the point where they literally had Maximilian Schell as the defender of the Nazi judges who were on trial, or the German judges who were on trial supporting the Nazis. Literally say, like, oh, the German people were the only people who knew about what was going on. Everybody else decided to, oh my God. And then he talks about the quotes of political leaders supporting Hitler. And this was made in 1939, and this kind of stuff, and all these different people and stuff like that. And it's fascinating because, like, well, that's all true. And they were willing to say that in 61. And we think, well, we only know the truth tellers and the whistleblowers today. I just wonder if that kind of movie, to your point, Ian, if you put that in the theaters and said, this is one of the greatest movies of all time. It was the first big movie about what sort of was going on within, the German mindset that people didn't really understand afterwards and all that kind of stuff. If the young people say, oh, it's a black and white, I can't go see it. I don't know. I hope not. But there's so many great movies like that. The 70s, we've talked about it many times. 3 Days of the Condor is a great film. I've watched that so many times since then. I wouldn't change a frame of that.
No.
To me seems as edgy and cool as anything today. But when they look at that and go like, oh my God, look at those wide lapels. I mean, I don't know. I hope
And
not, but you wonder.
you're on the right wavelength where the right really good classic movie without a reboot and remake, just bring back that classic, creates the critical thinking that a lot of times is missing. Like you're talking about, like bring back Judgment in Nuremberg, bring back 3 Days of the Condor, and like make audiences kind of like not get over explained by, like, because we have the over exposition we were talking about before, but like immerse yourself in this and try to put, take that challenge and put yourself in 1961, put yourself in 1973, whatever it happens to be, and just like go through that mental challenge and soak up what that is while being ridiculously entertained and impressed along the way. And that works for cheesy stuff and good stuff. Like, I don't know why Independence Day isn't shown every 4th of July in every theater in America 30 years later. Because it would sell out. Those screen awesome experience that would go a long way every year. Show it like you do Home Alone and It's a Wonderful Life, and like Ian, like you said, 78 Superman would reverberate just fine.
Oh, it's so good.
You can do 89 Batman right now, and it would probably move people as much as Robert Pattinson will once or twice, and we had a decent shot at that during COVID when all theaters could do was repertory stuff because no new stuff was coming, and it just didn't stick. And I know Fathom tries what they do and they pick anniversary projects every year, and I admire their lineup, but you're right, maybe more than one weekend and maybe more than 2 weekends, something can come back. But because the right ones, when they come along, sell. Like Titanic makes money every time they put it out. Star Wars makes money every time they put it out. So, well, who's to say you can't take a good, challenging thing for the right moment? To kind of go with Jeff's point earlier of, pick something topical that you can kind of put out there right when you need to, that isn't aged. Well, it's already been aged, but the legacy of it keeps it topical for what you're talking about versus a tech movie that's going to age out before it gets here. And some of that stuff.
Yeah, because I could tell you right now, more people will probably go see Independence Day than Independence Day Resurgence.
Oh yes.
Go ahead, Ian.
Well, I was going to say, just real quick on how you sell these things. If you have a savvy enough marketing team behind you, you could do this subliminally, subversively, however you want to call it, by if you've got like a political movie like Judgment in Nuremberg, and I'm not of this political bent, but just say you wanted to say, oh, what we're experiencing today links directly back to some of the quotes that were in this movie, and you start making memes, you start making TikTok videos, superimposing CNN clips with footage from that movie, and you just kind of put it out there, and then eventually you ramp it up. And when people are talking about, like, hey, you want to know where that came from? Boom. And then you put it out in the theater. Yeah.
That's why. Go ahead, Lamont.
Yeah, one last thing before I have to go. That's they re-released Jaws for its 25th anniversary, and it actually did pretty well.
Yeah.
And the 50th too.
And
yeah.
the 50th. It's done well both times. Yeah.
It did well this time. Yeah.
E.T.
Question. And to that point, Monty, and I think it's going back to what we've all been talking about, but you sort of brought it up too, Ian. It's like there are so many strengths in Jaws that most people don't see that in horror movies today. And to see that in that, it's like, I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine who said, "What's your favorite movie of all time?" And he said, "Jaws." And I said, "Well, it made a very big impression on me when I was in junior high, but I've watched it at least once, probably every year since then, and I always see more in it." And what's kind of captivated me the last 2 or 3 times I've seen it, maybe because I've gone through all the other stuff. Like, how did Robert Shaw not get an Oscar nomination for that movie? Is the fact that Spielberg decided to cast all the locals as locals.
Yeah.
And so you have this flavor of these people and who they are. And right from the get-go, they're dyed in the wool. It's baked in the cake. And from the very get-go, Brody can't get anything. Like, he goes like, I'll take care of those signs. I told you I'd type that up. Oh, I'll do it for you, Chief. It's like they're killing it with kindness, but they're also like, you're the outsider. We've been here for 30 years. I know where this gets filed and stuff like that. I mean, I love even the fact that he gets on that ferry And at first he's got the mayor, up in his face. And then by the end, he's got 5 council members around him. And suddenly he doesn't look so tough, but they're all locals, except for Murray Hamilton. And they just give it this flavor, and it seems very real. And by the time you get to the 3 of them on the boat for the second half of the movie, where it's really just them, we buy it because we've bought them in this world that has been so well created with these regular people as cast in the roles, and that's where Spielberg, it's just like in it took a documentary filmmaker to ground us in the realities of brain scans and MRIs at the beginning of Exorcist, to then accept anything that happens when all hell goes breaking loose in the second half. It's funny how they sort of lay the groundwork for that here. So we believe these people, we believe this environment, and somehow those 3 on the boat doesn't seem that far-fetched.
You're right. I know, Lamont, you got to go. Go ahead and plug, sir, your license to shill for you before you go. Where can they find you at, sir?
They can find me on YouTube, the Horror Miser Monty G, or youtube.com/the Rocco863 or Horror Miser Monty G. You'll see my channel on there. Right now, I have my review of Evil Dead Burn is up, and my ranking of Evil Dead, all the Evil Dead films. Those are up on my channel right now. And I actually did a little side piece on the real reason why Supergirl failed at the box office.
Yeah, I watched that. That was interesting. That was definitely interesting. So,
All
well,
right.
thank you, Lamont, so much for being part of our 600th episode. I hope you have a great evening, and appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much.
And of course, as always, gentlemen, always remember horror rules.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right, have a great night.
Good night now.
But,
Thank you.
It's one of those things that you look at it now when they talk about spoilers, and we talk about reboots and remakes and sequels. We see that now with, we can't have these one-offs, but even with what we've got, the reason we have the popularity we have is the fact that those indie films, because right now, like Obsession, Backrooms, Markiplier's film, not Iron Lung. I keep calling it Iron Lung. I don't think it's Iron Lung. I forgot what it's called. But these other films, it's like these are based off of memes. It's kind of like what you were talking about, Ian. They've been based off of memes and internet craze, and they've had a life out into the cyber world. So by the time you brought it, not only did you already have a built-up audience, but you had people who were interested, and you've built a world outside of the film, but you've built this world to where people understand it by the time they come in it. So you don't have to spend that much time building that world in it, except for maybe Obsession, but like Backrooms at least. And now they want to do sequels to them. And they're looking for, I don't know, they're looking for creepypasta ideas now out online. The studios are missing the whole point of why these films were the way they were. I went to see the circus film, the animated circus film. And that was the final episode of the series. And I was in a packed house. Granted, I could have been the dad to everybody in the audience, but still, they packed the house. Words going through my head, theater's dead or whatnot. And I'm looking around going, this is an episode of a web series being shown, but it had built an audience. So, and it was original, and it's interesting. And I think studios have forgotten how to build up things, even original or new stuff, to be the hype. And so when it fails, then they go, oh, well, this makes money. We're just going to go back to this well again.
Yeah.
Because the thing that they make original, they're so not confident about. They don't want to put the actual effort that they put into with Toy Story 5, or like you said, Ian, the Odyssey. I personally would rather see Jason and the Argonauts remade, or remastered, 4K remaster of Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah,
Ray Harryhausen
Ray release that in the theaters.
I mean, come on, those effects in that for when they came out, and even now, yeah, they look a little, but they're still physical stop motion effects. I would love to see that on the big screen. I would say, here, take my money. Well,
and also,
one of the things. Oh, good.
Just real quick, I was going to say one of the things you could do to popularize these classics is to give them their own collectible popcorn bucket and
Yeah,
drink
there you go.
toppers and stuff. But imagine like the
Right.
Harryhausen inspired drink toppers, like those little sculpted guys up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff. Go
The
ahead.
skeletons.
No, I was going to say one of the things too that I think they don't make enough of when they talk about the idea of the cinematic experience is, if it's new and fresh, they'll come and see it. Horror and comedy play well with audiences, so you're a collective group laughing and screaming. But also sometimes I think scale is so important for that. Like the first time I saw North by Northwest, I saw it at a Revival House, and it was a big screen, a one-off. And it's a very clever scene on television, but it's a scary as hell clever scene to watch Cary Grant getting chased by the crop duster, or when they're crawling all over Mount Rushmore at the end. It's like, it feels like they're on Mount Rushmore because it's so big and you're getting this sense of scale. That's the thing is, I think this big screen thing is undersold. A lot of times the bigness of stuff. I'll give you one last example of it. In 1963, Stanley Kramer, who must have needed some sort of elixir after doing Judgment in Nuremberg, went completely the other way and made a almost 3-hour comedy extravaganza called "It's a Mad, 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 Mad World."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And most of us have seen that. It's very funny. It's maybe a little too long and some of it's dated, but it launched the Cinerama Dome, which I'm sure you saw, Don, when you were just in Hollywood. It's this big screen. It's not only wide, but it curves a little bit around you. And
I can only
one of the
imagine being
reasons
there.
that movie got such good reviews at the time, by and large, and was a humongous hit. It played at the Cinerama Dome for a year. Was scale. We watch it on TV, and that's funny. Buddy Hackett and Mickey Rooney are in the cockpit of, and Jim Backus is drunk and knocked out, and they don't know how to fly the plane. That's a stunt plane that is doing all that, buzzing the tower, and these guys, almost having near misses with cars and everything like that. And you see that on the big scale, and it's like, it's not only funny, but it's like, it's impressive. Like, these people are really, everything shrunks. You can't appreciate a movie. You can watch it and like it, and I think the script and the performances probably come through on a computer, but sometimes scale and, Lawrence of Arabia, when Omar Sharif is introduced and he comes galloping towards Lawrence, and it's out in the desert and it's half a mile away, and here is the person who's going to help you understand this world coming to you as your conduit. And it's just this incredible introduction of this mythic sort of romantic figure that Sharif was anyway. And it's like, you don't get that when you're watching it on television.
Well, that's how they sold the special editions of Star Wars, famously, with that commercial.
Right.
That commercial was amazing.
For 20,
yeah,
right, for 20 years, a generation has only known Star Wars this way, and then all of a sudden, the Star Destroyer, like, boom.
Yeah, the X-Wing comes and smashes through the TV, and it's like, boom. And for us who grew up with it or watched it when they were 2.5 years old at an impressionable age, but when you watched all the Star Wars in the theaters and you hadn't had that for 20 years, to see that trailer on the big screen again was like, wow, I was that kid again watching it. Thank you, Stuffed Burrito, Jonathan, and Talix for tuning in. They rated us and they popped in. So glad you could join us for our 600th episode, by the way. Appreciate you. But yeah, but we've got that. The problem is, and it's not so much our film goers, it's the filmmakers. They've shot things now for the smaller screen on purpose.
Yeah, they know you're going to end up on a couch. And we likely have 60, 70-inch TVs at home where you can get close, or at least close enough to a big screen experience. I know it's not the same, but it's better than the 19-inch TVs we grew up with. And I get it, but it's still cheating. It's still lazy.
I remember back when DVD was becoming big and widescreen was suddenly the thing. Remember people say, "Oh, I'm losing the film because you've got the black bars above it," and you're like, "No, you don't remember it because it's been 2 years since that movie came out, and you don't remember what it was like on the actual big
or
screen."
It's been 30.
At that scale,
right?
At that. But I remember them showing cameras of filmmakers, modern filmmakers in the 90s, having the two different outlines on their monitor when they were shooting. And if you notice, like, discussions and people and talking went from being at the edge of the screens, they moved to a third in on either side because they would frame it. They would have it on their display of what it was going to look like when it was on the TV or the VCR versus the screen. And so they shot it for the screen. So all your action happened in this window, but you've got this much screen, but really all the action happens here. And it's sad, you know, it's like that
but it's funny how much compromise there is throughout. I mean, when television first came on, movies were square.
Yeah.
Movies turned into the VistaVision to compete with television. And yet, you know, then in the 70s and 80s, you remember Pan and Scan? Where they would put movies on and just and like this for what?
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, for a lot of people, it's like, well, that's good enough. You know, and I think that's sometimes part of the problem is I think we've lost a little bit of the eye for what could be and what is known to be better. But you know, if you haven't seen it, maybe you wouldn't know. So that's all the more reason why, to your point, Ian, I think put these movies out there in the big theaters and see what they do. Yeah, it's not going to cost that much. And you know, you guys talk about movies on their anniversaries. It's a perfect thing to lock in with Fandango or the events and all those kind of things and stuff. And maybe surprise, these movies will be very popular. One of the reasons Gone with the Wind is the most adjusted for inflation, the most popular movie of all time is they released that movie into the theaters well into the 70s. They would bring it back in the theaters,
and it's coming back for 4K. It's coming back for a 4K transfer.
And at the height of its popularity, when it first came out in '39, it would make its way around to most theaters every 3 to 4 weeks. Like maybe not for a full week, but like, hey, we're bringing Gone with the Wind back. Now everybody got to see it, or maybe you want to see it again. Oh, you want to see it again? Oh, they're lining up. So we'll show that for 2 days at this Milwaukee theater, and then it'll come back in a couple more months.
And we got Stuffed Burrito, our good friend Gabe, who's been on the show for a number of episodes. So glad you could join us. He says he had to fight his family to get widescreen VHS copies of movies. Because you know they thought they were not getting the full picture when you actually were getting the full picture. It's just that you're watching it on a CRT TV that was 4:3 and not widescreen.
Yeah, I mean the technology had to evolve to catch up with the media, which was pretty wild. I mean, I remember having a tube widescreen television.
Oh wow,
that was heavy as hell, and I dropped it on my wife's foot when we were moving. I still haven't lived that one down. But
she lets you know that one. It's the same one.
It's always the one saved for the end of the argument, right, Ian? Yeah. Well, that may be true, but you know what? You dropped that screen on my foot.
Yeah,
it's such a part of our family history now that I don't even have to be brought up. It's just the look. I'm like, oh, you're thinking about the TV again.
But we were saying it earlier, like with the John Hughes stuff, like all the stories we're telling, we can be the old men at the dinner table saying it, but there's a generation of kids that have never seen anything but a flat screen TV and a non-corded cellular phone. Like it takes some, I don't want to say dumbing down, but it takes some translation to reach some of these kids. And I teach them every day, and oof. So like, I would love to put George of Nuremberg in front of some high school social aids kids, and I think it would reverberate. And as much as Independence Day blew my children away, 13 and 11. So like, it's there's leaps we got to make. But I wish we can make those leaps smarter, reboots, remakes, or otherwise, like, cause I think Ian still like, I always hope, I guess I mean it like this. I always hope that a reboot, a remake, or a reimagining is something that gets your brain going, but makes you want to go see the old one too. Like go rediscover something, go rediscover why the movie was bad the first time, or go rediscover why it was a classic the first time. And for whatever reason, hopefully you can get a doubled experience out of it, or comparative experience, whatever you want to.
Or at the very least, read about it. Like you can read things,
yes.
And then that's available to kids on their cell phones anytime. I mean, if you choose to, you don't have to necessarily go down a crazy tangent or rabbit hole, but there are things like if you like. Sometimes I find when I'm on YouTube, and this is part of the old algorithm thing, but like I was talking to Ian about my love for In the Heat of the Night. I've loved that movie for 20 years. And I watched it about 6 months ago, and I think I've watched it 2 more times since then. And somehow they know I'm watching it because they're listening to me, and I've seen these documentaries or these analysis little dissertations, college professors talking about why this movie is and what it did and all this stuff. And it's fascinating. So, I think that all makes the idea of, power, information is power, and that's what people are using the phones for, I think, and hopefully technology for it is to find out more stuff. And that nicely comes with all that stuff without you having to go to the library and thumb through the card catalog.
Well, I'll go ahead, Ian.
I was just going to say, I mean, the YouTube, the video essay, and that's all great. I think it's important, but it's also, you're talking about people can look at stuff on their cell phones. I mean, literacy rates are plummeting. I mean, people are not reading. They're not reading for fun anymore,
right.
which is a big crime. And I think that's also the reason. I'm going to get off my Odyssey soapbox again, I promise. And then, I put a tweet out, right after I saw the movie, and I said, in any other era, Christopher Nolan would have been run out of town with flaming pitchforks for calling that an adaptation of the Odyssey. And the only reason he can get away with it, aside from the brand name of Christopher Nolan, which is just like Stephen King, is that nobody knows because they haven't read these two 500-page books. They're just saying, well, I saw it in the movie, so that must be what it's like. It's like, no, it really isn't. But nobody knows because they don't read.
Armand Desante 29 years ago, like, I saw the Armand Desante one.
Oh, don't knock Armand Desante.
I love that one. I love it.
The great
it's
unsung
cheesy.
Actors of world.
No,
you're right. People don't know. You're right, Ian. They don't read. They don't know. And the tragedy of it is today is I think they take pride in that.
A little bit.
They take pride in the fact, oh, I don't need to read that. I got better things to do. How many times do you hear that kind of excuse? Like, really? Better than reading?
Well, it's like that.
Reading is
It's like
pretty
that
cool.
Chris Rock bit, which I won't go fully into, but he's like, if you're worried about your house getting robbed, put your money in your books because people don't read.
Well, see, and we,
It's true.
my
That's
wife was a big
hilarious.
reader, so our kids were readers, and they read a lot of books when they were young. I mean,
Yeah.
they are far better readers than I am. And when they got, more into the computers and that, they still read. My son reads, they're reading books, but they're also reading online and that. But they use it in
Short forms went in.
I've seen some of their age range do the same thing. Like when we're watching a movie, I could probably push on him if he picks up his phone. But what he does on his phone is when he's watching the movie, he runs into something he doesn't know or wants to know. He uses it quick and then he puts it aside. And then after the movie, he looks up it and he looks up information on it. Or like when we're driving home from seeing a new movie and it's like a comic book movie and it's like, wow, they really felt like they screwed up that character. I didn't know. We'll be home and he'll be scrolling while we're traveling from Wausau to here and tell me about the history of it. So he's using it to help fill the blanks and which you can do. But I don't think a lot of people do that, but you can do that. And with the Odyssey, I get what you're saying, Ian, because I played the video earlier in this 10-hour stream of Lamont and I's review of The Relic. He picked it for the 20th anniversary review. And I despised the movie the first time I saw it. And I didn't like it after I watched it later. And after I watched it this time, being separated from the book, which I did read the book, I didn't mind it as much. I thought by itself, it wasn't a bad horror film. I did feel sad, though, because the book was so much richer and so much of a better story than in that movie. But all the people are going to know who just watched that movie is that movie. Yeah. And they're missing out on the book, which had so much better story.
Yeah. Well, that's the risk you run when you have a bad adaptation, especially one that's been run through a lens, is like, why would I read the longer version of that? That movie sucked. But, Mark, I think the thing that I like the fact that people are looking things up, but, when you're saying your son sometimes does that while he's watching a movie, that's a problem because it breaks immersion. Now, I'm guilty of it too. If I'm watching something and I'm bored out of my mind, I've been known to check Twitter, but movies don't have hyperlinks. You shouldn't pause something and look it up and then go back to it. And then also when you're looking things up online afterwards, like for comic book movies, there's a difference between reading a Wikipedia article to find out the significance of a character and actually going out to the library or Barnes & Noble and buying the run that whole thing was based on and finding out the context of what that character means. Because again, it's all filtered. That's why they called it media. It is a mediation between the source and the audience, and it can be a problem. Again, I think your son doing investigation and finding things out and learning more is a great thing, but it's also sort of a problem of our era. We've become a Cliff's Notes society.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And to that end, and I've tried this soapbox in your show, Ian, where I've tried to, despite being the teacher and the stickler and the person who's supposed to, uphold all this, go out, read the real thing, is try, and it's hard, to allow room for the curves and swerves and creative license and dramatic license and different interpretations, like whether it's Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet or it's Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. I allow the
pull
titling
pull over real quick, Don.
Okay.
Two completely different things, because once again, you have Baz Luhrmann saying, "I'm going to set Romeo and Juliet in 1996 Los Angeles," so automatically the audience knows going in, this is not an adaptation of Shakespeare. It's through an interesting, different lens. When you've got Christopher Nolan saying, "I'm going to adapt the Odyssey," I could get to 5 other problems before I get to the story. And I'm like, you're not adapting the Odyssey. Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to draw that distinction because it's not exactly the same thing.
No, I mean, I give you 2 extremes of creative license because there's room for it. And I'm trying to be better about allowing room for it. But at the same time, critical eye, being a film critic, like there's room to be like, hey, this may or may not be the most ideal version of it, but for what it's going for what the artist's intent is, I'll run with it. I'll allow it. I'll turn into the meme with our guy Ken Jeong from Parks and Rec. I'll allow it. I'll let it run, see what happens. And if it's, despite how much shortcutting and cheating there is, like Mark said, if this bastardization, as you're taking it to be, can at least be somebody's door opener somewhere, I'll take it. And yeah, so it's tricky.
But
so
here's the thing, especially with the Odyssey, you're not going to, the number of people who are going to come out of that movie, especially young people, and say, wow, that was a really cool 3-hour movie. I want to read the 1,000 pages that inspired it.
It takes a
I could count on the
you.
fingers of an amputee.
Yeah, I know. It takes
I just want to pull over real quick. Thank you for the donation. We got a $13 donation, and I appreciate it quite a bit, putting us at $300 for the streamathon today.
Sweet.
So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Mark, we didn't hear your remake of choice.
Oh, my
that you dream of.
You
got to get there.
My remake of choice. I kind of alluded to it. While I do love the movie, I would love a remake of Maximum Overdrive.
Okay.
With our reliance on technology, even more now than when that film was made and I don't care. I know Stephen King's disowned it. Other people, he said he wrote it on a cocaine, that should have had its own title, its own credit in the film. I don't care. I love Maximum Overdrive. Okay. It's cheesy. Yes, it's great. I recognize it fully that as far as a cinephile critic, no, it's not a well-made film, but it is a fun movie. And it's an interesting story that I think in the hands of a right person, you could get a very interesting commentary on our reliance on technology with it, and make it scary, and make it it not so cheesy, and maybe redeem the concept of the Maximum Overdrive movie that tends to get overlooked because it's cheesy, King disowned it or whatever. I think there's a lot of great ideas and things in there, and it's very much Stephen King. If you look at the characters and you've read Stephen King, it's got those archetypes that King writes in that movie.
Was Maximum Overdrive based on a King short story?
Yes, it was based on a King short story, which they did another version of it, but it was like a TV movie that was a little bit more, I guess, close to the source material, but not nearly as well received. Yeah,
they did the same thing with The Shining. Which collection was that in? Do you know?
I don't think it was a collect. I think it was a standalone. I was it.
Oh, like a novella or something?
Yeah, it was a novella. I'm not sure if it was in a collection, but it was a novella that he had written.
No, because I have still not seen Maximum Overdrive. That's a big blind spot for my part. But what I'm curious to find out from you, Mark, is would you do a contemporary version of it, or would you do it as a period piece set in like 1985? But knowing what we know about technology in 2026 to make it more feasible or less fantastical. I haven't seen the movie, so I'm not.
I do it in a more. I do it in contemporary. I mean, there's enough examples of vehicles that kill things in that movie that I think you could make it contemporary and still keep some of the iconic things, like the ice cream machine that plays King of the Road and it's got blood on the front of it. You've got the lawnmower that goes crazy. You've got the plane that's crashed into the middle of a school bus. You know, I mean, there's a lot of imagery in the 80s version that you could just move to today and not really change much, but you could add, you know, the tech part of it. You could add that to it. I just like to see it get like a serious remake so that it could maybe get a better reception by the public. Whenever you say Maximum Overdrive, people roll their eyes or just go, oh, that's cheesy. You know, but those who've watched it, or like I did, watched it every day for the 31 days of horror one year. I watched it all 31 days. There is a lot of great stuff in there that could really, if refined a bit, I think could really still apply today. There's
Mark, did you use cocaine to get through those 31 days?
I did not. No, I did not use cocaine to get through those 31 movies, nor did I use cocaine to get through the 10 hours that we have done of our streamathon. And I think we're going to wrap it up here tonight. I want to thank you guys all, and Horror Miser, Lamont, and everybody who tuned in for making this a really fun time, this 20th anniversary streamathon to Streaming to End Alzheimer's. And the 600th episode has been fantastic. And thank you, Jeff, Don, Ian, Lamont, everybody of my Spoiler Room crew over the years who have been at least a part of one, if not more, of our 600 episodes that we've been doing, which I never thought was a milestone I would reach. And we aren't going to slow down. We aren't going to stop. We got our Miyazaki episode coming up, which will be Ponyo, which is what we're going to look at next. And so I'm excited to talk about that. And I've picked our theme, thanks to some fine folks in our last episode. I've picked our theme for, I think Jeff may have suggested it, 1999 films. We are going to party like it's 1999 next year. Our special year-long series is going to be looking at films from 1999. I will come up with the list, and we will have people vote on it. Now, we've done some films from 1999 in here when I was doing the 52 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, which Ian joined in, and I've trapped him into this shadow zone to where he comes back almost every week. But we're going to have a list of all the 1999 films, and you'll be able to vote. Top 12 is what we're going to do. And yes, our theme for next year will be Party Like It's 1999. So that's the theme for next year. Look for that soon on Special Mark Productions. And tomorrow, we're just going to plug it quick. Another 10 hours. If you haven't gotten enough of me, there's another 10 hours coming. Yes, we're doing our streamathon tomorrow. Ian's going to be back. We're going to talk about why we're critics, because I think it's a question. It's an important question. That it's an important topic that I think needs to be discussed, especially nowadays. And then we're going to have Wisconsin's Dan Davies on. We're going to have JB Thompson on, and we're going to be doing a soundtrack show, as well as special 20th anniversary pre-recorded reviews and maybe a little gameplay. There'll be a whole lot more coming, so hope you tune in for that. And now I'm done shilling my stuff. Let me allow my wonderful guests who've been part of this very special episode to shill their stuff. So, Jeff, you are first, sir. Pearls before pearls, please. I don't know how that works. Go ahead.
I think you're giving Ian Simmons another chance to talk about the Odyssey, because the pigs figure rather prominently in that film.
They're just men, Jeff. They're just men.
They're just men. Anyway, you can follow me. TheEstablishingShot.org is where I write movie reviews as well as television reviews. And you can follow me, Jeff York Chicago, on Instagram. Same name, same idea on Facebook. And I also do caricatures, jeffyorkcaricatures.com, available for commissions. I do all kinds of different things, and I can draw you and your family or dog or favorite movie star too. So those are the places you can find me online, and often on this show and often on Ian's show.
Oh, well, there you go. So check that out, folks. Mr. Don Shanahan, please shill away.
Sure. I'm the editor-in-chief and one of the film critics at Film Obsessive. I'm also the founder and creator of Every Movie Has a Lesson. My next review is probably The Odyssey in the next 24 hours, if I can write that up and get my ideas out there. I'm also the co-host of the Cinephile History of the podcast. We're working on some episodes about travel. I think our next 2 episodes are on my podcast partner went to Japan, so we talked about Lost in Translation, and I went to Los Angeles, and we talked about Heat. So we'll have some 2 episodes in that direction. We'll see where we go from there. Other than that, social media-wise, look for Film Obsessive. Every Movie Has a Lesson. Or my handle is Casablanca Don, and anywhere you want to find me, letterbox or otherwise.
Fantastic. And Mr. Ian Simmons, bring us home, sir, with your license to show.
I'm Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com and also right here on YouTube, doing weekly live streams and podcasts and interviews and all that good stuff. I'm also here on Mondays and sometimes Sundays and sometimes other random days of the week, depending on when Mark is having a special anniversary or milestone episode. So 20 years on YouTube, 600 episodes, Mark. Thank you again for allowing me to be part of this journey. It's one of the most fun things I do every week, because if for folks who don't tune into the Spoiler Room live streams weekly, first, shame on you. And second, Mark does a great service to not just me, but also the audience by picking these kind of themed episodes and building entire months of programming around them. Movies that I've either never seen or I've seen and I need to reevaluate or, reconsider. Sometimes they're just classics and we have a good time saying this is why we love these movies. And sometimes, as in the case of Coraline and My Neighbor Totoro, I do my very best to turn people around. Anyhow, Mark, thank you very much. Congratulations. And that's my show.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you to everybody who supported us for so long. I think this year too, I'll be crossing the threshold of 2,000 movie reviews before the end of the year since I've been online.
I thought you meant for 2026.
No, not for 2026.
Mark, you're a madman.
No, 2,000 movie reviews. Just reviews of the final cut. We are going to be crossing the 2,000 threshold this year. A lot more videos, as you know, onto YouTube. Thank you all for making this special, and hope to see many of my viewers back tomorrow for another great day of programming. But until then, we're just going to say good night, everyone.